Hi there, my name is Denise Fitzgerald and I am a Wealth Director here in Goodbody. I'm joined by my colleague Catriona Coady, who is Head of Tax, and my colleague Michelle, who is Head of Wealth Advisory. We're here today to talk to you about pensions and investments and why it's so important for us to invest in our financial futures. So Catriona, women are often in positions that they might take a career break or take some time out. And I'm just thinking, are there any first steps you would advise women to take in terms of investing in their financial future?
So I think, Denise, a useful starting point is to look at cash flow, personal cash flow, and we often don't want to do that, but it's a very useful exercise after it has been done because it will inform on savings and investment requirements and also income requirements for the future. So in the context of what pension income you might need.
And whenever you sit down and do that, what are the kind of things you need to take into consideration in terms of long-term goals and that?
We often have a particular goal or objective in mind, say around a particular capital spend. We might want to access our pension fund and access the tax-free lump sum that comes with it. But I can't emphasise enough again the need to actually make sure you're not using that when you might need it later on in life. So life expectancies are very long now, and therefore income requirements in retirement need to last the length of what life expectancy is at currently. So before making any decision around a particular financial objective or goal, it's really just important to do that cash flow piece that I mentioned. Look at say for example your desired retirement age when you want to access your pension fund, and is that the right thing to do at that particular age, or do you need to actually fund your pension further and maybe push out that retirement age? Or the opposite could be the case. You may in fact be able to access your pension fund earlier, depending on how you've contributed to it over the years. You may have more than one pension fund, and it's good to assess each pension fund and whether a consolidation exercise should be done.
Yeah, it's always something we think about, it's never going to happen or it's so far away. But actually what I'm hearing from you, Catriona, is probably two key things really. Start early, think about what you want and set the plan in place for that.
Exactly. And also I suppose in the context of pensions, they're very tax efficient, certainly in relation to the contributions that you make to them, the fact that the investment gains roll up tax-free, then you're entitled to access a certain amount tax-free as well of the pension fund. And while the post-retirement fund, after you've taken your lump sum, will be subject to tax, they still are very tax efficient, and one of the last really tax efficient investment savings that there's no other ones that are generally available across the board. So it's definitely a worthwhile tool to invest in.
That's really great advice. So again, a couple of key things. Looking at the policies and scheme you're in, see what you can do. Look at all the other things that you might have started years and years ago and collate them, and look at what that means for you then as you come into retirement. And hopefully you get to have some really good fun with all the long and hard investments and savings that you've made.
That's right, and not to forget the other assets, like you may have had a rental property and that rental income may continue on into your retirement years. So back to that exercise that I mentioned of pulling everything together, looking at your entire asset base, looking at what it's going to deliver for you, whether it's a good time to dispose of certain assets and maybe redeploy them towards something else that will generate a return for you, and maybe there's more liquidity around that particular type of investment than perhaps some other types of investment like property.
So we would always say to people, as a bit of advice, and particularly for your children or anything like that, get them to start early, put small amounts away. And when you put small amounts away on a regular basis, the effect of compounding makes a huge difference when you come to retirement age. And that's kind of the old adage. But when you come to retirement as well, you do need to look at how your funds are invested and what type of structures your funds are invested in. So Catriona mentioned earlier about liquidity. We also spoke about not having all your funds in property. When you come to a later age, you need to start looking at how your investments are placed and where they're placed. And then finally, I think the structures that you are talking about are really, really important. So when you come to retirement age, people think, you know, age 60, you've got to stop, you've got to take your money and you've got to move on. But if you think about it, you can actually continue to save up to age 75 in a pension. And Catriona already mentioned, you know, it's a great pot to put your money into, tax-free, and you can do that all the way up to age 75. At that stage, you do have to take an income from it. But you can also access a pension early, you know, at 50, and you can also access pensions at 60. So it's really, really, when we are talking about strategies, there's a combination of two things. One, what you're going to invest in, and two, the structure. And that'll give you an idea of when you can actually exit and take your money.
And as you sit down and you plan out that investment structure and your strategy for it, like life throws you curveballs, as Muhammad Ali said, everything's great until you get a punch in the face. So as you journey through life and life does throw those curveballs at you, what do you think we should do, or how do we allow for that flexibility within that?
I think when you're starting off with a plan, okay, so we all have great plans and they all get derailed at some point in time, but give yourself some flexibility within that. So it's really, I think the really good thing to do is really sit down with somebody when you're starting out, anybody really, but preferably, obviously, Goodbody. But if you're sitting down and you want to talk about planning, you should think about life events. So there will be certain things, there might be weddings, there could be, you know, a big purchase or something like that. So if you think about those and you start investing, you can invest and have funds available to you at those particular times. Then there'll always be that other piece that'll be unexpected. So when you're putting your plan together and when we're investing it, we generally look at a lot of diversity across your investments. As we said, not one asset class, and keeping some liquidity so that you can meet those life events without having to cash everything in at a time that might be inopportune. So I think it's all about planning. It's about choosing the right investments at the right time and keeping liquidity. So
I suppose there's a couple of key things are really thinking about what you want, and what I think I'm hearing from Catriona and yourself, it's really that plan and thinking about what you'd like to do over your investment in your pension. And I suppose that investment will give us the control of our own financial futures, and whoever has the money has the power and control. If I've taken anything from today, I'll be talking to my 18 and 20-year-old daughters about getting in early. So thank you both very much. Really appreciate your time today. Some brilliant advice here from Catriona and Michelle. Please give us a call if you'd like to hear more, or email at investmentclub@goodbody.ie. Thank you.